Well, we are here. We are
Hey,
here. Hey to the people of the Teacher Project 2.0. How you guys doing? Happy Wednesday to everybody. How you guys doing? Hey, hey, hey.
hey.
So, listen, this is all I got for y'all today. You know, my colleague slash baby bro has a saying that he uses. And, a lot of times when he says it, I'm like, oh, you have to be a little more humble, El Teddy. You're so, But one of the things that he says is when you're as right as much as we are, do you really have to be humble? Now, I believe we told you guys, maybe it was early January,
We did.
that even though the president does not have the authority to literally close the Department of Education without going through Congress, what did we say he could do, El Teddy? We said he could gut it. We said we could just gut it and find and make it inoperable. And that's
That's what we
exactly what we
said.
see happening. That's what we said.
That's
Hey,
what we said.
everybody coming in. What's up? What's up? K-Fit, thank you for always sharing us out. Appreciate you, my love. Yana, my boo, China, Crazy Homebody Girl, Symmetry, Luna Brain. Come on in. Come on in. What pulls my teeth? I ain't seen you in a while. Hey, boo. Y'all welcome and come on in. But the reality of the situation is this, you guys. We knew, and I said last week, I didn't know it would be this swift, this soon, this fast, this reckless. However, I'm not surprised that this is what's happening. Where's my light? Why do I look so dark? Okay, that's better. All right. Well, how you feeling today, Doctor?
I am well. I am well. I am well. Yeah.
I have friends that work for the Department of Education. One of them I've talked to, and they have been affected. The other one I have not had an opportunity to talk to yet, so I'm not sure if they're affected or not. But 1,500 people the whole department got a letter yesterday telling them, hey, don't worry about coming to work tomorrow. It's going to be closed for security reasons. And then 1,500 of them, give or take, found out that they were no longer employed. And we got Linda McMahon running around doing her press tour about it. So in case you guys don't know, as you can see, we just jumped right in. In case you guys don't know what's going on, let me just read you guys a quick little article so we can just all be caught up. Oh, Lord. And I think the biggest question I've seen all over the TikTok is, but can people cancel their student loans on their way out the door? This one has been updated as of 12 minutes ago. So I'm going to read you guys. This one is probably one of the most updates. This is coming from ABC News. The Department of Education mass layoffs on Tuesday affected some 1,300 employees, including civil servants around the country who are now left wondering who will advocate for those they serve. The cuts, which account for nearly 50% reduction at the department, impacted every part of the Department of Education, according to senior education department officials. So if you were wondering if it's going to affect anything that deals with you, if you do anything in education, the answer is yes. But a source familiar with tells ABC News that most of the reduction in force affected the offices for civil rights and federal student aid. The civil servants who worked for OCR and FSA are tasked with investigating discrimination within America's schools and helping the nation's students achieve higher education. OCR and FSA staff in most all regional offices were eliminated, according to the source who spoke to ABC News. I'm sorry, I just got a random text. That cuts to nearly half of the federal agency will absolutely affect the department's operations, according to the source familiar with the reductions who work in the department. I don't know how disabled students will be serviced, said another Department of Education employee who didn't want their name used for the story. The employee's office is a law enforcement agency charged with enforcing anti-discrimination laws for students based on race, gender, and disability, among other characteristics. By law, the office reviews complaints regarding the nation's most vulnerable students, including Section 504, which helps ensure that students with disabilities have equal access to education opportunities. Secretary of Education Linda McMahon has ensured that programs that are critical to students with disabilities will not be cut. I don't know how they won't be cut if you're cutting the people never mind. The Regional Department of Education employee who received the reduction in force email on Tuesday told ABC News their civil rights office was abolished. You want me to read that part again? I think I need to read that part again.
Yeah, you need to read that again for the people.
For the people in the back. The Regional Department of Education employee who received the reduction in force email on Tuesday told ABC News their civil rights office was abolished. Gone. No more. However, McMahon said the agency will still administer those statutory programs that students from disadvantaged backgrounds rely on. You mean the statutory programs she didn't know what they were? Is that the statutory program she talking about, El Tandy, that she didn't know what it was?
You can show them the video because if you want, you might as well.
Do y'all want to see the video of what statutory program she said won't go away? That maybe we need to, because maybe we need some clarity, Linda. Listen, Linda, listen. We need some clarity. Hold on. Let's
that
see.
Is going through Title I, through IDEA programs.
What's that stand for?
Do you know what? I'm not sure I can tell you exactly what it stands for, except that it's the programs for disabled and needs.
Individuals with Disabilities Act, I think. Yeah. I'm guessing. I don't know. I don't know all my acronyms. I've been here for 30 years. You should.
This is my fifth day.
She said, this is my 5th day on the job. That's what happens when you hire somebody that's not qualified, because if you had any education background, it wouldn't matter if it was your 5th day on the job. IDEA is a major staple for anybody in education. A first-year teacher can tell you what IDEA is within the first 2 months of school. So you saying this is your 5th day on the job and you don't know what IDEA is?
And you're the Secretary of Education.
But you are the secretary, the head honcho.
Not your lover and your secretary, though.
But you don't know what IDEA is? I'm going to finish this article. We're almost done. What we did today was take the first step to eliminating what I think is a bureaucratic bloat, she said. It's a humanitarian thing to a lot of the folks that are there. They're out of a job. But we wanted to make sure that we kept all of the right people, the good people, to make sure that the outward-facing programs, the grants, the appropriations that come from Congress, all that are being met, and none of that is going to fall through the cracks, she said. Says the person who doesn't even know what you're supposed to be protected. Okay. The impacted staff will be placed on administrative leave starting March the 21st, a statement from the Education Department said on Tuesday. They will receive full pay and benefits through June the 9th, a senior official added. The statement also said that the DOE will continue to deliver on all statutory programs that fall under the agency's purview, including formula funding, student loans, Pell Grants, funding for special needs students, and competitive grant making. But the news of the cuts on Tuesday was demoralizing to the Department of Education's employee who is out of a job after more than 2 decades at the agency. It's upsetting, said the employee. It doesn't make sense. It's an upside down world. You want to hear what the president said?
Why not?
On Wednesday, Trump said he felt very badly about the massive cuts at the DOE, but quickly claimed, without evidence, that many of his employees weren't going to work or doing a good job. Now, the Department of Education, maybe more so than any other place, has a lot of people that can be cut, he said. He praised McMahon, saying that she's doing a very good job. on her 5th day on the job. We have a dream, he said. The dream is we're going to move the Department of Education. We're going to move education to the states, which we've been telling y'all for 2 years that that's what they wanted to do, but okay. The Trump administration has urged McMahon to return power to the states, but education is already a local issue, which we've explained that to you guys as well. The Education Department's responsibility is to administer money, conduct critical research projects, and oversee discrimination complaints. We all know that the local education agencies and state education agencies, they control 95% of what happens in public education. The federal government does not control curriculum, says a Department of Education employee. It doesn't control hiring or firing of teachers. It doesn't control standardized testing. We don't control anything other than trying to help people give folks loans so that they can maybe go to college and then make sure that kids that are disabled get the services that the law say they're supposed to have. This civil service said that they, along with the rest of their office, are now shell-shocked. There are no rules and a hostile takeover, the employee said. They're treating the government like it's a business, and it's not. That's what's unfortunate. And that is from Yahoo News, and that was updated 26 minutes ago. Go ahead, LT. I got to figure out why it's so dark in here. Go ahead.
Here's the deal. I was just about to say something to really be, and of course she goes off just as I'm about to tell her something. But I want to start by saying this. What you see happening at lightning speed within the Department of Education, and we'll just stick to the Department of Education alone. But what you see happening in lightning speed within the Department of Education and throughout the government is why, and really this is where really B and I have been on opposite sides with this, which is why I've been so adamant about we as Black people cannot, the 92% and the 80% or however many percent it was for Black men, we can't take
85.
We can't take the time off. We can't just say, I'm going to sit down. Because while we're sitting down saying it's not our problem, not our issue, rights are being taken away. And by the time some people get up off the couch or say, well, I guess it's time for me to care, what is there going to be left to care about? We don't get the right to sit down, sit back and say, that's their problem. So I'm going to start there. The other thing is this is happening and you have most of America not paying attention, don't have a clue. They have, it's not just Black people. Most of America has checked out of politics. And that's literally the way that they want it. They want it that way. They want you so exhausted with everything that they put out there. They want you so beat down. They want you so verklempt where you're just like, I don't have time. And by the time it comes to your doorstep, it's too late. When you find out that your child is special needs and is failing because they never gave your child accommodations, it's going to be too late. When you find out that your child has had their civil rights infringed upon, when you go and they now have do all of the things that we've reported on this platform. Remember, really, we were reporting the lady in the elementary school that had the kids squatting in this yoga position that she said was how the slaves were. Remember that? Remember when they told the Black students that they were not allowed to mention the word slavery or acknowledge it? Remember when states like Oklahoma were forcing students, regardless of their religion, to read and know the Bible? And all of these infringements on civil rights. So when you wake up and you go and you decide, let me go down and complain about this, your school board is going to look at you like, I don't have nothing to do for you. Man, please go away from us. And you try to take it further because there's supposed to be a check on them, and all of those checks and guardrails are going. Now you're going to be left looking crazy. Now you're going to be at that point screaming from the rooftops, wondering how we got here. I thought this was America. I thought we lived in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Wondering, like Deborah Cox say, how did we get here? Nobody's supposed to be here. And you should have known when Linda McMahon was announced as the nominee. That was the time for parents. All of these Moms for Liberty groups, all of these groups that have all of these things to say about education, right? Where were they when the head of the WWF, whatever they want to be, wrestling, was nominated? Because if you truly cared about school, education, and where we were going, you should have been screaming from the rooftop. It should have been a 5-alarm fire when Donald John announced this woman. Then when she got nominated and said full scale, I can't promise you that we won't be getting rid of Black history. I can't promise you that. I will have to look at that. She said that with her mouth. And now we've basically eliminated and eradicated the civil rights division. What is being told to us is, baby, when we said make America great again, it's probably the 1940s. Yeah. It's somewhere between somewhere probably just post World War II, when the United States saw a surge in its value and in its economy and things like that, and prior to the beginning of the civil rights movement. That's the sweet spot for them. When Jim Crow was at its height, when America was post-depression, starting to make money, and just before the civil rights movement took off, that's their sweet spot for them. That's where they want you to be. And you know what? Alive right now, never dealt with that and have no clue of how to deal with that. And that ain't just us Black people. That's white, black, blue, and purple. That's what we are really be. We are at a point where they have said no more. No more will America be seen as a melting pot. We are a white country, a country who on its inception was made by white men, for white men, for the promotion of white men, and for the upliftment of white men. Period. Point blank. You want to, really be. These people are real constitutional traditionalists. They want to go by exactly what it was at the signing of the Constitution. That's what we are really be. That's all I got. That's all I got. I don't know what else to tell people, because here we are. Here we are.
So let's go down. Can we go down a little memory lane for a minute?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go back to the early 1900s. I'm gonna go a little bit further back than where you went, Doctor.
Uh-huh.
When we go into the industrialization of our country, and when our country was moving from a more rural place to a factory industrialized place, what we found was we didn't have enough people that knew how to work a machine. We didn't have enough people in the workforce that could manage anyone. We didn't have enough people in the workforce that knew how to do anything other than follow a simple direction. And so there we have the organization of a universal public school system, because prior to that, each state did its own thing, kind of what, they say they want. Each state did its own thing. And, in most states, school didn't even go past 8th grade. Much less, we're not even going to talk about for colored people. The Indians weren't allowed to go to school at all. The Asians don't even think about it. The Negroes, we actually could go, but probably not past the 6th or 7th grade.
A lot of women couldn't go either.
A lot of women couldn't go. And so what happened was they realized that they needed to develop a workforce. Please don't ever be fooled into thinking that the development of our education system was ever about creating a system of higher learning for anybody other than white men, which is what El Teddy just told you guys. But I say all that to say, fast forward to where we're going now. They're okay with creating a drone society. Please understand that the public education system in this country has been eroding for years. This is sort of the climax to the story, right? We've been at the rising action. We're at the climax right now. And you know, if you Doc, you taught English. We get to the climax and then we have the falling action. Am I correct? So we're at the climax of this. Please understand that these privileged white men are very much okay with your children being drones to their company, to their agenda. They're not interested in your kids going to college. They're not interested in your kids, graduating from high school, because all they need are people to show up, turn the screw, and go home. Okay? When we start talking about this attack on federal workers, I have no idea why people have fixed it in their mind that federal workers just don't do nothing for 8 hours a day.
Because a lot of them are Black, that's why.
You know, and so now people are realizing, oh, y'all actually do something all day long. Yeah, yes, they do. Yes, they do. Negroes in the South went to school around farming season. Quiet as kept and loud as it is, why do you think we have a summer break? Why do you think public education has a summer break? It's not about your kids needing a mental break. It's not about being able to take your kids to Disney World. The school system is set up based off of the farming system. Because so many kids would miss school during the harvest that they just started closing school. Or when it was too hot. That was the other issue too. When they didn't have air conditioning, it was just too hot to be in school. But understand, you guys, and that's why I tell you, I've said this to you guys before, the education system in this country is the only system that we have that on this level that has been the same since the 1920s. And we don't understand why it don't work. What else do we do the same way that we've been doing since the 1920s? We have the same, we might put a little twerks and tweaks in, but it's the same thing. Kids get up, they go to school. All of them go to the same first period. They move in packs. Doesn't matter whether the levels are different. It doesn't matter whether they could, whether getting up earlier is better or going later is better. It doesn't matter if their interest is mechanical versus tactile. Our education system is set up for drones. And El Teddy, give me a minute. I'm about to go even deeper.
Go ahead. You got it. It's your floor, boo. Go.
And if we really want to break it all the way down, it's set up to mimic the prison system. Kids wearing uniforms. Kids walking down the hall on the left side. Kids quiet in the lunchroom. Kids quiet in the hallway. Rec time, right? When we start really breaking down our school system, we talk about the school to prison pipeline. That didn't just start. The school to prison pipeline, this was always set up in that way. I'm sorry. Did I do too much?
No. Usually I get accused of doing too much. I'm glad it's not me today. Okay. You spiking out over here, ma'am. You having a whole spike out over here. Where's Larry when we need him?
Lord, we only on the first article. article, El Teddy.
Oh, God.
First article.
The first one, Lord.
All right, I'm gonna stop right there. Let's go on to the next one. The next one is Linda McMahon as well, y'all. Maybe hold on. Let me. Her right here.
That is
right
going
here.
through Title I to IDEA programs.
What's that stand for?
Do you know what? I'm not sure I can tell you exactly what it stands for, except that it's the Programs for Disabled and Needs.
Individuals with Disabilities Act, I think. Yeah. I'm guessing. I don't know.
She can't even say Individuals with Disabilities Act. I can't tell you. I just know it's about, people in need. Oh, Jesus. Help us. That's all I can say is help us. Oh, Jesus. Okay, let's go. This article, you guys, is coming from it's coming from NBC News. And it too deals with our Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, who is also qualified for the job.
You are a mess.
I'll put the link in the chat. Let's get into it, you guys. Education Secretary Linda McMahon warns 60 colleges over anti-Semitism on campus. Dozens of universities across the country received a federal government warning Monday over their obligation to protect Jewish students on campus, just as President Donald Trump's administration clamps down on pro-Palestinian protesters. Education Secretary Linda McMahon wrote to 60 institutions, many of which were the site of lengthy and at times fractious protests last year, telling them that they would face potential enforcement actions if they failed to uphold Title VI of the Civil Rights Act in regard to Jewish students. Isn't it interesting how we concerned about the Civil Rights Act now? Didn't you just gut that whole department, ma'am? Okay, I'm sorry. Let me read. That part of the law makes it illegal to discriminate on the basis of race, color, and national origin in any activities that get federal funding. 6 out of 8 Ivy League institutions are on that list, including Columbia and Harvard. The move comes as hundreds of protesters gathered in New York on Monday to demand the release of pro-Palestinian activist and Columbia University graduate Mohammed Khalil. While a court decides whether to deport the Syrian-born man after his student visa was revoked. A detention hearing is scheduled for Wednesday. Students of at least 84 colleges held protests, set up camps, or occupied university buildings last year as the Israel-Hamas war raged in the Gaza Strip, with some protests lasting weeks. More than 3,000 people were arrested, including more than 220 at Columbia University, according to NBC News. The protesters were calling for the government to withdraw support for Israel's incursion, onto the aerial bombardment of Gaza, which has killed more than 48,000 people. I'm sorry, I'm going to say that again. 48,000 people. According to the Hamas-run National Ministry Jewish Organization, called on colleges to do more to protect students amid reports of anti-Semitic posters and slogans on campus. In a statement, McMahon said to the department that the department is deeply disappointed that Jewish students studying on elite U.S. campuses continue to fear for their safety amid the relentless anti-Semitic eruptions that have severely disrupted campus life for more than a year. U.S. colleges and universities benefit from enormous public investments funded by U.S. taxpayers. That support is a privilege, and it is contingent on scrupulous adherence to federal anti-discrimination laws. The Education Department's Office of The Education Department's Office of Civil Rights wrote to the colleges after Trump signed an executive order to combat anti-Semitism on January the 29th, calling for tougher action on colleges and the removal of aliens who carry out anti-Semitic activity. Monday's intervention could be one of the department's final acts as the Trump administration prepares to dismantle it, to redistribute authority to individual states, which the president pledged to do so as early as September of 2023. The federal government last week canceled $400 million grants due to Colombia, the center of last year's protest movement for its continued inaction in the face of persistent harassment of Jewish students. Following the arrest of Khalil on Saturday, Palestine Legal, a Chicago-based nonprofit that offers legal advice to pro-Palestinian activists, called on colleagues to not collaborate with immigration and customs enforcement officers in an attempt to arrest and deport activists, advocating that detaining students over their political ideology represents a significant escalation in the McCarthyite attacks on the student movement for Palestine liberation. Palestine legal staff attorney Sabia Ahmed said in a statement. Go ahead, Doc. What you got?
I'm gonna do everything I can not to spike out on this story. What we have to do really be, and I just feel like really be, we're over here sounding the alarm in most cases. We are over here doing the Lord's work, really letting it be known what's coming down the pipeline. And unfortunately, and I say unfortunately because in a lot of cases, I don't like the fact that we're right. Go look at our videos over the last 5 years. We are right so many times. And I go back and look. I was, as I was looking for some stuff today, I saw a video that we did on Glenn Youngkin during that Virginia election. And we talked about all of the things that would happen. And just about everything we said would happen. Now, I bring that up because they are using this right here as their way to sharpen their legal skills, legal jargon, prepare law enforcement, because something is going to happen. You're going to have another reckoning in terms of a situation that becomes the catalyst for public outcry and public uproar, similar to Trayvon Martin, similar to George Floyd, similar to Breonna Taylor. There is something that's going to come down the pipe, right? We as citizens are going to be outraged. And you know what your government is going to say? Oh, no, we won't have any of that. Matter of fact, you can go to jail immediately. Here's this felony. Matter of fact, not that people haven't been jailed before, because we know protests have caused people to be jailed, but they're going to put much more teeth into this now. Now states have laws that say when you protest, now you have a felony. Now your right to vote has now been taken away from you. Now, not only can you not protest what we're doing, you can't even go to the ballot box to vote our behinds out of here, so that we can't make any more laws like this, so we can't cause any more disenfranchisement of you, so that we can't so that you can't stop us from the complete destruction and diminution of constitutions, laws, and rules that we have in this country. That is where we're going. And the scary part is, where are they starting? They are starting at the place that has always been the foundation, the centerpiece, the linchpin of protests. Major protests at any level for just about every movement in this country started at universities, especially in modern times. They started at universities. These were informed people who were enlightened, who were educated, who saw that there was more to the world than just within their 10-block radius, and said, oh, wow, what we're doing, now that I am educated, now that I am informed, I see that the things we were doing, the things that our government is doing, is actually bad. And we are going to voice our opinion on that. They don't want any of that really being. All of that is gone. You talked about the prison, the school to prison pipeline. They absolutely don't want you to go to college, because they know that is the place where you get true real education, enlightenment, people become more inviting, people become more tolerant, people are more apt to say our government is wrong, people in positions of power are wrong, and they don't want that. So what do we see over and over and over for the last couple years? Colleges and universities have been attacked. There has been an onslaught of attacks, not just on K through 12, because that's what they want you to focus on, but the focus should be on the attack at the university level. Because once you start to attack at the university level, now they're really trying to strip away anybody or any institution or any movement designed to do away with them. That is what they are looking to do. And unfortunately, there's so much teeth into their attack on these universities. They're taking hundreds of millions of dollars away. A university president, provost, chancellor, they can't explain. I don't know how the president of Columbia University still has a job, because how do you explain $400 million of funding being summarily taken away through no fault of your own? And I'm not blaming that president. That president did the right thing. But what I am saying is the fact that the Department of Education and the federal government is stripping away funding, they are making sure that they won't have any presidents or college administrations or board of regents or board of trustees buck up at them. That's how you get to the crux of getting people to bend the knee. You take their money from them. And really, we are going to have colleges, because they've already started it with the news and journalism and news outlets. So now we're going to have colleges that are nothing more than propaganda factories.
Absolutely.
Now we're going to have colleges, because I take for granted, really, everybody K through 12, although we'd love for it to be equitable across the country, it's really not. And I know so many people who tell me it wasn't until they went off to college that they really started to learn even their own history, just their own history of Black history, the history of other cultures, really understanding what was going on in the world, globally and domestically. And now all of that is about to be stripped away, and you're going to be left with propaganda factories.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ditto everything you just said. And O Street is one of our subscribers in the chat that says that they work at Columbia, and she is co-signing everything El Teddy just said that they've been in meetings all day, and that is one of the conversations is how $400 million is missing. Like everything that El Teddy is saying in the chat, she is co-signing. So, and I know O Street, she's a loyal subscriber, so I know what she speaks is true and valid. So again, you guys, and again, everything El Teddy just said is correct. All you have to do, you can go further back, but you really don't have to go further back than the 1960s. When you look at our whole counterculture movement started on college campuses, whether it was the Greensboro Four or whether it was, the anti-Vietnam War protests, or the you had the Black Power movement, but you also had the Red Power movement. You also had, you had all these other movements that the 1960s was a powder keg between the women's rights, between Black rights and the Native Americans, the Latino
LGBTQ
Americans.
rights,
like
that
it
was
was
going
a whole
on.
powder keg, and the majority of them started, whether it was the college campus, and some of them even started on the high school level. But everything you just said is very, 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 very much in line. Kent State. Oh, we don't even want to talk about Kent State. But we could talk about Kent State. We could talk about Southern University. We always talk about Kent State, but we never talk about Southern. We never talk about how the National Guard was called into Southern University and how students were killed for protesting. Kent State gets a lot of attention for obvious reasons, but go check out Southern University. And I believe Tennessee State also had an incident where there was a protest and students were killed by the police. But moving right along. El Teddy, I just got the alert for your live. Sir, did you put in your title the United States of Tesla?
I did.
I hate you so much.
Did.
He said the United States of Tesla. I'm sorry. That just tickled me when I saw it come across my alerts. Somebody in the chat said, I don't understand how Columbia University became the focus, and I don't understand how they could just go and pick up.
Well, it's not just Columbia.
Well, wait a minute. No. Let me finish what I'm saying. I told you guys, and I know I think I said it on my other channel. I told you guys about maybe 2 weeks ago now. I need you guys to erase everything you thought you knew about our Constitution. I need you guys to erase everything you thought you knew about how this country works. This is a coup. This is a coup d'etat. Our country, our government has been taken over. And El Teddy's not wrong when he says the United States of Tesla. Elon Musk and Russia are running this country. So everything, here's what they're doing. And this is why I went off and I was so pissed off at the Democrats the other day. I'm still pissed off, but you know what I'm saying? Because Donald Trump's attitude about everything is, I'm going to do it. Stop me. And yes, he's got over 100 lawsuits. And yes, the courts and most of the lawsuits are ruling against him. But what they going to do about it? So I hear what you guys are saying, but understand where we are right now. He's not following any rules. He's doing what he wants to do, and he's worried about the consequences, or he ain't even worried. He'll deal with the consequences on the back end. So when I understand, but I need y'all to just erase whatever you thought you knew about this country and the branches of government and the Constitution. It's gone, y'all. And I'm not even trying to be hyperbolic. It's gone. It's gone. But go ahead, El Teddy. I'm sorry. I just wanted to finish that thought, child.
Yeah, no. What I was going to say was it's not just Columbia. It is, there's I think like all but maybe 2 Ivy League schools are on the list. I believe one of our articles is about a list, that there's a list of about 600 colleges and universities that are on the list that will be joining Columbia University and having money taken away from them. I just did a story yesterday about Southern University that was doing that had a grant where they were studying things that could be used for menstrual cycles, different products that could be used, for when women have a menstrual cycle. There was and it was supposed to help farmers have a place to process some of the ingredients, to help out the Louisiana farmers. It was a whole thing helping the state, helping farmers, doing research on alternatives to things that could be used to help women with with their menstrual cycle. And because there was one line in the grant that acknowledged that trans men or other male identified individuals can have a menstrual cycle, they announced all of the money is gone. And then tried to put out propaganda saying that they were doing a study on men having menstrual cycles.
Oh, like the transgender mice,
which ended up being transgenic.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we doing here? I told y'all
no one has ever. Let's be clear: the White House has never corrected that.
Oh no, and they're not going to, because that doesn't help their cause. That doesn't help their agenda. And It's like the people are going and pressing Control F and just typing in certain words. Oh, transgender, Control F. Type in transgender. If it comes up with a hit, you're gone.
Yeah.
Control F. Race. Oh, it came up with a hit. Gone. Control F. Black. Oh, I got a hit on that. Gone. not looking into it, not even seeing what's being said, what's being studied, how what's being studied may be helping the greater community health-wise or in some other aspect of life. No credence at all to that at all.
Nope, not at all.
These people are idiots.
That they are. That they are. That they are. All right. Okay. We have another article. I think we have time for one more article today, sir. Which one would you like us to do? You have 15 minutes. Which one would you like us to do? We want to do excuse me, you want to do the one on the White House pressures university as it seeks to deport pro-Palestinian activists, or the Lord, Education Department focused on Trump's politics, less on special ed, racial discrimination, yada, yada, yada.
Let's do that one.
All right. Here we go. We'll end where we started with the Department of Education, which is apropos, since that's what we've been talking about, Department of Education, over the last 2 or 3 days. This is also coming from the Associated Press. Excuse me. I will drop the link in the chat. If you guys want to, for reference, read along, come back to it later. Yada, yada, yada. Let's see. Yeah, O Street, I'm sorry to hear what's going on up there at your school. And you're right. Columbia has been targeted for whatever reason, because they weren't the only school, like El Teddy said, but they're on the hot seat. So unfortunately, it is what it is. This is an office known for enforcing special education is now focused on Trump's political priorities. The Education Department's Office for Civil Rights is known best for enforcing the right to disability services across America's schools. But under President Donald Trump, it's taken a front line in his political battles. Trump appointees have halted thousands of pending cases while they open new investigations aligned with the president's campaign promise. Career staffers have been sidelined and pressured to quit, and those who remain are being ordered to refocus priorities on anti-Semitism, transgender issues, and anti-DEI complaints. A memo Friday from the Civil Rights Office chief announced anti-Semitism cases are now the top priority, taking aim at colleges where pro-Palestinian protests bore accusations of anti-Jewish bias. That followed a decision to cut $400 million in federal money going to Columbia, while on Saturday, immigration officials arrested a Palestinian activist. We talked about that. Hanging in the balance are the types of cases the office traditionally has focused on: students with disabilities who need services they aren't getting, or students facing harassment tied to their skin color. It's normal for a new presidential administration to pause civil rights cases while they get acclimated, but this transition brought a longer and more rigid freeze than others. Trump officials lifted the freeze for disability cases on February the 20th, and last week, new education secretary said all cases would resume as normal. During Trump's first month in office, the Office for Civil Rights resolved about 50 cases, according to a staffer who spoke on the condition of anonymity. As for fear of retribution, by comparison, the office resolved more than 3,000 complaints in the same window of Trump's first term and almost 500 under former President Biden. Even the most urgent cases, which are traditionally granted exception, sat idle during the freeze. Staff lawyers were told not to respond to outside calls or emails, leaving families in the dark. Another staff member at the Civil Rights Office described desperate emails from parents whose schools refused to make accommodations for their child's disability. We were just ignoring their emails, said the person who also spoke on the condition of anonymity for fear of reprisal. Talisa Guyton of Taylor, Michigan, filed a complaint with the Office of Civil Rights on January the 20th over her 16-year-old son's repeated suspension from a suburban Detroit school district, alleging that white administrators were targeting him and a group of other Black children. The teen has been out of school since December the 4th. Even as investigations resume, she has heard nothing from the Civil Rights Agency. He's still asking every day, when can I go back to school, Guyton said of her son. The memo Friday told staffers anti-Semitism would be and an investigative enforcement priority. It added the memo should not be interpreted as deprioritizing any other form of OCR enforcement activity. But staffers said that their most likely outcome is dwindling ranks of employees face heavier caseloads tied to the president's agenda. On Monday, the Education Department sent a letter to 60 colleagues warning they could lose federal money if they failed to make campuses safe for Jewish students. The list includes Harvard, Cornell, and many others where pro-Palestinian protests led to accusations of anti-Jewish bias. Politics usually play into the office priorities to some degree, and Republicans similarly accuse Biden officials of going too far when they open cases into COVID-19 masks or bans or in support of transgender students. But several longtime staffers said that this is the first time they've seen cases tied to political agendas edge out their everyday work. Trump has called for a total shutdown of the Education Department, calling it a con job infiltrated by leftists. At her Senate hearing, McMahon said the Civil Rights Office might be better served if it moved to the Department of Department of Justice. Some cases are moving forward, but others appear to be stalled, said Marcy Lipset, a special education advocate in Michigan. I've said to everyone, you're going to have to fight harder for accountability because there will be no accountability at the U.S. Department of Education if there is a U.S. Department of Education. At the same time, Trump officials have continued to open their own directed investigations, proactive inquiries that depart from the office's typical work responding to complaints. The office has opened more than a dozen such investigations, many aimed at pressuring universities to stop allowing transgender athletes or to take a harder stance against pro-Palestinian protesters. It adds up to more work for fewer employees at the office of about 500 workers. Staffers say field offices across the country were hit hard after dozens of department workers were put on leave in response to Trump's orders against diversity, equity, and inclusion. Many others took buyouts pushed by the Trump administration, leaving some field offices without administrators in key leadership jobs. And I want to put a caveat there. Those numbers don't include what happened today. So they were already short-staffed going into losing another 1,300 employees on today. And again, all of them didn't come from the Office of Civil Rights, but a lot of them did. Sorry, y'all, pop up. Hello, can you go? Pop up. Be gone. Be gone. All right. Minor changes to the office's policies could also carry outsized impact. Complaints to the office can't move forward unless the filler signs a consent form allowing their name to be disclosed during the investigation. For years, the office sent reminders if the form was not submitted. Parents often didn't know it was required, but an updated case manual from the Trump administration drops the reminders. Staffers say it means more cases will be dismissed on a technicality. Some special education advocates have begun filing more cases with state agencies, says Brandy Tanner, an Atlanta-based psychologist and special education advocate in conversations at a recent conference in California. Disability advocates expressed uncertainty and anxiety, Tanner said. It's kind of like we're very scared about what else is going to continue to come down the pike, she said. Are students going to lose their rights? And that is the article.
I think people fall for the banana in the tailpipe when they attach themselves to these terms, not knowing full well what they mean, or even knowing what they mean and willfully just accept the people in positions of power giving them other meanings or using them as propaganda. And I say that because this attack on DEI or diversity, equity, and inclusion, people don't know there is not a person in this country that doesn't have a friend, family, or loved one that does not fall under DEI. Not a person. Many of these people carrying the banner of wanting to do away with DEI, many of them were either people who benefited from DEI or don't know, if not for DEI, if not for civil rights movement and the laws. We talked about this, really, be the fact that the most agencies of the federal government were put in place because states could not be left to themselves to do the right thing. And in most cases, it involved Black people. But because it involved Black people who usually ended up being the greatest beneficiary of the founding or instituting of that agency, were non-Black people. They used Black people as the prop to say, oh, this is for the Black people, but never really used it for us and used it for everyone else. And so what you end up having happening is people are ignorant to the fact of the fact that many of these laws that were instituted, these agencies that are instituted, benefit them to the most. Insert the people descended from the Caucasus Mountains. If not for, I'll give you a couple examples. Really, B is a study of history like me. Abolitionist movement was first. Who attached themselves to the abolitionist movement? Women's suffrage.
Sure did. Sure did.
Call me at work. Hold on. It was women's suffrage.
Sure did.
Who then after they got their women's suffrage, they completely abandoned Black people in the abolitionist movement. Now, when civil rights movement came, who then became the greatest beneficiary of that? Women. Because before white that, women were white women. They were not allowed to go and work. Many of them were not allowed to go to school. Many of them were not hired for certain jobs. Many of them were attached to that, but wanted no parts of being attached to the people that for that. I fast forward to where we are with education, with the fact that the civil rights, the Office of Civil Rights in the at the Department of Education, you know, where most of the cases for that office stems around things like Title IX. I got a news flash for all of these, the total of less than 10 cases of trans women competing in athletes as athletes in the NCAA, where you have more than 500,000 athletes. But even if I want to blow up and act like, oh my God, there's less than 10 cases and more than 500,000 is the biggest threat to humanity, guess where you would file a grievance about that?
The Office of Civil Rights under the Department of Education.
And here's the newsflash, really, B. They will devote the attention to that. Why? Because that fits their narrative. So now you're going to have all of the money, resources, and everything devoted to cases that is the smallest percentile of anything imaginable. Meanwhile, we neglect and ignore all of the other atrocities, all of the other disenfranchisement. You're going to have scores of people that, after it's way too late, realize, oh, I didn't know the Department of Education did that. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't know that. And guess who's waiting for you? You got Governor Quasimodo over there in Arkansas waiting. Remember, one of her first acts was to remove child labor laws. What you think she's going to do with education? You got Governor Hot Wheels over there. What did he do a few years ago? Take out all resources in schools and public schools that help children know who they are. You got Governor Death Sentence in Florida. You got Governor Lee over there in Tennessee. You got Governor Meemaw over in Alabama. These people are waiting.
Did you say? I'm sorry.
Governor.
Did you say Governor Meemaw?
Yes, in Alabama. You know her.
I hate you so much. I hate you so much.
But they're waiting for them to eviscerate the DOE and say, yes, states take it. Oh, we get to take it? Oh, you're just going to give us money and we don't have no stipulations and regulations or what we do with it? Okay, fine, great, beautiful. And now you'll see what happens. Now you'll see why you needed the Department of Education, and then it'll be too late. I'm done, really. I'm done.
Yeah. And if you think that the states are going to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, then you don't understand why we have a Department of Education to begin with. Thank you, Uncle Jay. Uncle Jay, you've been preaching, you and Ravine, y'all been preaching in this chat. Well, all of y'all, all of y'all been in this chat preaching today, honey. Y'all have been preaching in this chat today. Let me say this. Can I just come here? Let me give y'all a little bit of advice. For those of you or your children, however, whatever, my suggestion for you is if you can afford to go to college without, federal loans and things of that nature, and if you can afford to go to law school, my suggestion, the next wave, I suggest that you all go to law school and you specialize in civil rights law and you specialize in education law. Because when, I don't say if, I say when the world comes back to some sense of something, all of these disenfranchised people / students / employees are going to need some representation, and there's going to be a lane for that. I ain't saying that's going to happen now. Like I said, you got time to go to law school. You got time to go and pass the bar. Because, again, like I said, the reason why we have these things is because people did not. Listen, I know we got to get ready to go. What time? Yeah, we got to get ready to go. But let me say this, and I'm gonna leave it here. I need us to remember that before the Department of Education, we had a situation in Virginia, right down the street from me. After Brown versus Board of Education, and states were ordered to desegregate, the governor of Virginia said he would close schools before he would allow Black kids to go to school with white kids. And he literally closed the schools in the state of Virginia for almost 2 years. And you know what happened to those white students while school was closed for 2 years? Those white students continued to go to school because the churches and the community centers, this might have been the birth of homeschooling. I don't know if I did the research, but those white kids continued to get what they needed. So 2 years later, when schools opened back up, they were good. You know what happened to the little Black kids? The little Black kids missed 2 years of school. And for a lot of them, when school opened back up, they were literally, if they were in the 4th grade when schools closed and they were supposed to be in the 6th grade, guess what? The school put them back in the 4th grade. And we don't even need to go down that road of what that probably did, especially for the boys and yada, yada, yada. Y'all could listen. Y'all got it. And with that being said, we're going to, I just want to leave that with you guys. And that was before there was a Department of Education to tell that governor, what are you talking about? You cannot close schools for the whole state for 2 years. But guess what? He did it. He said, sue me. And that's what had to happen. So again, I say to you, it's going to be a long. Okay, El Teddy, close us out so you can listen, y'all. We can right head over to El Teddy's house and we're going to learn about the United States and Tesla.
Listen, y'all, we have to be vigilant. We have to keep our eyes on the prize. Many of us have family, friends, and loved ones directly affected by what's going on in education. And even if you don't, the fact that this country is not being educated adequately will affect you, because then you have people like those that are in positions of power now that ascend to positions that directly affect you.
Yep. All right, you guys, we're about to head on out of here. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you guys. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all of the things, and we are gonna meet you back over on El Teddy's over at El Teddy's house. Talk to you guys later. Mwah. Peace. Okay, itty bitty's on spring break now.